Captain Alex Montgomery, our captain over Criminal Investigative Division, and Major Toby Landry here to my right, just by way of introduction. Okay, what we're here to tell you about is for the last 17 months, the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office has been conducting a relatively complex investigation within Lafayette City and within Lafayette Parish into prostitution and human trafficking. This investigation originated due to numerous complaints by citizens in the city of Lafayette and business owners both in the city of Lafayette and in other municipalities within the parish of Lafayette. So after a lengthy investigation, which was coordinated with the 15th Judicial District Attorney's Office, my detectives investigated and collected evidence on sex trafficking in various massage parlor locations within the city of Lafayette. Last night, the investigation, at least the first phase of it, ended with the serving of simultaneous search warrants on 8 locations. 5 of those locations were business locations within the city of Lafayette, which included the Golden Spa, the Angel Massage, AA Plus Massage, Asian Spa, and Harmony Zen Spa. There were also 3 residential locations that were sufficiently tied to the activity we were investigating to justify search warrants. As a result of the search warrants, there were several people were taken into custody, some of whom were released during the course immediately after being detained. 8 people were arrested and charged. I believe that all of you in your media packets, or you've already independently accessed the information on who's been charged with what. In addition to that, my detectives seized approximately $50,000 in U.S. currency, which we believe to be reasonably believed to be proceeds of illegal activity. We seized 5 vehicles and a substantial amount of jewelry and business goods, which also appear to be proceeds of illegal activity. The investigation is ongoing. We are relatively early on in our process, even though we've served search warrants. There's a lot of business records that were also seized that we need to go through. Many electronic devices, phones, computers, iPads, things like that have to be analyzed, because these types of investigations are not entirely confined to the local area. There are out-of-state ties with this investigation, and I expect that some other agencies will be involved in assisting us due to the nature of that. And with that, I'd be happy to take some questions.
I noticed most of the names were Chinese origin, what about passports and, are they citizens?
We're still investigating that. I think that information is going to come to light, but right now I don't have the specifics on who is actually here with lawful presence and which of those people are here without lawful presence. We do have, on a different note, we have so far one of the women who was detained, who was engaged in the activity, has come forward and confided in us that she was here against her will and she was being forced to engage in sex trafficking. So I'd like to thank the Faith House for working with us last night. You got to understand that it's very tough for women to come forward who are in a foreign country. They may not speak the language. I don't know if this woman spoke any English, but we had Homeland Security provided us with a Chinese translator last night for us to communicate with these women, and it's still got to be extremely difficult for them to come forward, but one did. I wouldn't be surprised if some more came forward, and we have her now being taken care of, thanks to the Faith House for helping us with that.
All right, the pandering and prostitution charges, so now we're looking at one of them facing possibly sex trafficking charges?
Yes, ma'am, that's exactly right. And I can't pronounce the name, but it's the OU Yufang. Is been charged, and I believe it's a $1 million bond, Captain?
Yes, sir.
That's been set by whatever magistrate reviewed that charge for human trafficking.
Can you spell that last name for the one for the
Yes. Okay, so they're charged with under Title 14 with 46.2, and it's OU, and then I believe the last name is X-Ray Union Frank Adam Nora George.
Were any of these parlors
advertising their services on like Craigslist or any other websites?
Yes.
Is that what led you guys to this?
Well, it's not primarily what we do day to day, as you know, but it started off with, you know, like I alluded to, the numerous just neighboring businesses complaining and citizens complaining, and we started to look at it at the very outset with the district attorney's office, and decided under what parameters we'd go forward, and what investigative techniques we would use. I want to assure the public that my deputies did not engage in any type of illicit activity to obtain this evidence. But beyond that, I wouldn't want to say exactly how we accomplished this, but we did get the probable cause to get signed off on by a neutral and detached magistrate that, in fact, all of these things are going on, as is evidenced by the charges that have been accepted and the bonds that are set.
And was this connected to the massage parlor prostitution ring that was busted back in 2014?
It's too early to say. I'm familiar just by anecdotal knowledge about that operation that was conducted, if I'm not mistaken, by the Lafayette Police Department under Chief Kraft's leadership. It could be the same or associated people, but it's too early to say right now.
Were all of these parlors licensed under the state as businesses, legitimate businesses?
They were all operating with the apparent authority of LCG, but that I don't know. We don't. You know, that wasn't a criminal violation or a purview of our criminal violation.
Were any of the suspects that you guys arrested repeat offenders that you know of at this point?
I don't know that at this point. No, I don't.
And do you know if they had ever gotten a cease and desist order from the LA Board of Massage Therapy or anything? There's nothing in the investigative files that came up about that. And and I admit it's possible, you know, if they were even on their radar screen, but again, that wouldn't be part of our criminal investigation. The main course of interest here was to respond to the business owners who've justifiably reported that this has been growing and growing and growing the last couple of years. And and I could see it. I could see it myself. And the human trafficking is at the crux of it. When you have women who are being exploited in the flesh trade, that's something, you know, we know that it happens worldwide. We know that it happens in the United States. People don't like to talk about it. It's unpleasant, but we know that it goes on. And all we can do is control what happens here in our community.
Two of the women that were originally charged with prostitution, you already said one of them came forward and confided, and you said that she was being trafficked, and they're both listed as homeless on here. Is there reason to believe that the other person who was arrested is going through the same thing?
I'd say that's a reasonable, inference, but, you know, until they come forward and confide in us, I wouldn't want to speculate. That's for someone else to do. I'm going to let my investigators continue to sift through the records and also work now with our federal partners to, you know, follow this to its conclusion.
And what were the living conditions like of the employees that you guys arrested?
Well, right now, that's not what this press conference is about. It's an excellent question. I think that, we'd be happy to share more of that down the road. I just don't want to say too much until we see where the dust settles on this. But I appreciate the question, though.
Are there any patrons of these parlors that have been charged or may be charged?
No, not to my knowledge. I know that we did have some patrons who have assisted us with our investigation, who've given statements. But again, that wasn't the target of this. To spend this much time on prostitution charges was not the goal or the intent of this investigation. When it first came up, it was simply like a nuisance type quality of life type issue. And when we started looking at it to see, well, is there possibly human trafficking going on? Yeah, there very possibly was. That's the tact upon which we proceeded with it. So we weren't targeting Johns, if you will, of these places.
All right. Well, thank y'all for coming, and if you need any follow-up information, I'll be glad to get with y'all and provide whatever